Hello and welcome to the Cheap Seats. It is your weekly Premier League show right out of here in South Africa. This week is an interesting one because Arsenal won on the weekend.
Straight up.
And so I've got
not even after the
Spurs
introduction.
So I've got a Spurs fan here in Dean, and I've also got one of Arsenal's staunchest supporters in Kent. So he'll be letting us a little bit know about how he's been supporting Arsenal throughout the years. But before we get going, please do interact with us on these different platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also on Instagram. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and like as well. So the topics for this week. Oh yes, you can follow our Twitter handles there. I don't know what Kent's Twitter handle is. He'll let us know throughout the show. Because we also want to interact with him on Twitter. All Arsenal fans need to follow each other. Let's allow that.
There's a lot of Arsenal content and probably some Spurs hate on my channel. So for anyone interested, I'm sure you'll enjoy.
And the great thing about Kent is he's reminding us of one of the greatest ever away kits ever manufactured by Adidas, the bruised banana. So thank you very much, Kent.
Like I said, I'm not in the mood for two Arsenal fans. And you're talking about the kids.
Okay. Oh. So today we're talking. So Dean, we're going to talk North London derby. But how are you doing outside of Spurs?
I mean, it's hard to talk about how life is going outside of the North London derby because it affects everything I do. Every part of confidence I exhibit on a day-to-day basis stems from that. But other than that, it's going pretty well. But yeah, it was a tough night on Sunday. I'm not gonna lie.
And Kent, first of all, how long have you been supporting Arsenal, and how was your weekend?
So, like Dean said, after a North London game, your mood, your week, everything is very much hinged on that result. I can remember, I think it was in December when we lost. I'm very glad I wasn't on a call then, but I can just remember that week being very deep. So much better, going well. And I've supported Arsenal since 2006. I was in grade 8 then, and I had a few friends that were Arsenal supporters, and I watched the game with them, and I really enjoyed the vibe I was getting from the supporters, and I was kind of watching football at the time. I watched Arsenal more and more, and I really enjoyed the style of play. And I think my first proper emotions and heartbreaks was for the Champions League final. So I got thrown straight into the mix of being an Arsenal fan, and I think I started supporting them basically straight after FA Cup 2005. No ways. I don't know. I'm glad that I started supporting Arsenal then, but it was after the glory years. So you definitely know I'm a loyal fan, and that I'm not a glory fan.
You got some bad mates, bro. Got some bad mates. Didn't even introduce you to it, but when the Invincibles were around.
Exactly.
I started supporting Arsenal in that period. In the early 2000s, the season, I think the season they won the league before the Invincibles, that was when I was engrossed in those FA Cup wins. Height of Vingable. That was so beautiful, the height of Vingable.
I think that's the season they won at Old Trafford.
Yes, that one. That was the one.
Okay.
That was the one.
With Walter.
Yes, when everyone was speaking French at Arsenal, and there were only a few English. But anyway, let's move on. So we played this game on. Okay, yes. So Dean, I'm going to start with you because listening to Jose Mourinho at the end of that game, he kept on saying that obviously they played badly. The Spurs played bad. The first time he spoke about the team actually playing very badly. Normally it's the ref or something else, but he ended up blaming the ref. But from a apportionment of blame, who does this defeat sit at the foot of? Is it Davinson Sanchez? Is it Jose Mourinho? Is it Matt Doherty? Is it Daniel Levy?
I mean, there's a lot of people in that game that it's easy to pick out. I mean, Doherty's name stands out because his performance was horrendous. I mean, I honestly think I could have defended that left side better, the right side better. I mean, you just have to break Tierney's ankles if he's running past you that many times, you know? It's not that tough. But I think at the end of the day,
before you continue, the funny part is, if that was Serge Aurier, he probably would have gotten a yellow card because he would have come in clattering into Tierney once to remind him that he's there, and then we would have carried on with the game.
But I think, and my problem with that game is, you know, before we started, I kind of sat there and I went, okay, the only person that hates Arsenal more than me is probably Jose Mourinho. So, like, you expect the guys to kind of get fired up, right? And from the first 2 minutes, you could see that the guys just weren't that amped up. And that's the part that's annoyed me the most, is that, you know, it's a North London derby and the guys just don't look like they're there to play ball. And you can look at the players, and I think a portion of that is for them. But I also think it's almost like Jose didn't get them that fired up for it, and get them that sort of amped, you know. And I think that's been the case for the last 2 London derbies. Obviously, this one was probably the one that matters the most for a Spurs fan. But the way we just bent over and was happy to take a defeat at Chelsea, and then the same at West Ham, where we also just turn on and realize how to play football in the last 15 minutes. A portion of that has to go to Jose, and a portion of it has to go to the rest of his coaching staff. Like, the guys just didn't rock up, and you could see that straight from the beginning. And I mean, as I've said before, you know, we've spoken about it separately, where, you know, there were certain performances in certain areas where it was a bit of a knock-on effect, like losing Son within 10 minutes, and then Bale not tracking back means Doherty's left exposed. That means Sanchez has no idea what's going on, even more so than what he already has no idea. So, like, it's just this knock-on effect. And at halftime, you're kind of saying, okay, Jose, you need to say something, have a wonderful speech, do something about it. And again, they just don't rock up in the second half. You know, you concede late in that first half and you think, okay, time to shine, let's go, kick on. And again, they don't show up. So 100%, I'm putting like 80% of the blame on Jose and probably 20% on Mac Doherty, because the rest of the guys, that's what it is.
Majority. My problem with that was I just kind of felt there's a wait. First off, so here's the thing: from watching All or Nothing Spurs, which was beautiful, All or Nothing Mourinho, you kind of got a sense that the video analysis that they do before the game is very important, and everybody does. But from a Jose perspective, and with all the articles that have been going on over the last month, it felt as though Jose was always, and he's always said it, he wants to work on the defense. But then when Arsenal's attacking down the left-hand side, the entire season, like literally, I don't think we've ever scored a goal from the right-hand side. I think we've scored like 80% from the left and 20% from the right. And even then from the right, it's because it came from the left, it went to the right, and somehow somebody headed it in or something like that. And you kind of got the sense of like, wait, what was this guy doing all week? If Kieran Tierney, who it's not like it's a secret, you know, Manchester United knew it, everybody knows it, is being allowed to just roam around the left-hand side, cutting inside. And you kind of felt as though, okay, fine. In the first half, you allowed it. You were like, okay, fine. They can fix it. It's fixable. It's not like it's something that isn't. And in the second half, it's like freedom of the city. Tierney is, I say he's the best left back in the league, but people are going to fight me on this. But he was playing like he was Roberto Carlos down that side, without obviously the heavy shot. But that's why I kept on sitting there going, okay, but this is all on Jose. Yes, the fact that he can't motivate his players enough to play a North London derby is a big problem. And I think it's something that Daniel Levy needs to look into, because if the players aren't motivated for a North London derby, yes, it's 7 versus 10, then maybe he might have lost the dressing room. I'm not saying that. You can tell me, has he lost the dressing room?
I wouldn't say he's lost the dressing room, because you see, I was thinking about it, and we beat Burnley comprehensively, right? Jose's won 5 of the last games before the North London derby, but it's almost like that's sort of just covering the cracks, essentially. And as a Spurs supporter, you would take a win over Arsenal more than you would take a win over Crystal Palace. As weird as that is to say, I mean, if I was in the top 4, it's a different situation, but we're 7th, okay? A pride win is more important than a win against not really a rival. So for me, I would have expected exactly that, for him to be fired up for him to get going. And he's just, the fact that he just didn't do it. And I mean, I understand why he chose Matt Doherty, because defensively, he liked to think that Matt Doherty's more sound than what Serge Aurier is, because Serge Aurier likes to, run forward and get those crosses in and passes. And he's not as defensively minded as what he would have thought Matt Doherty is. But at the same time, if you can see something's not working, do something about it, Like, it's not working, do something. Don't even put Matt Doherty, move Matt Doherty off and put fucking Muso Sissoko, put Sissoko on the right side. Do something, I don't care. Just do something to stop Tierney and Emil Smith Rowe running rampant, because, I mean, without that left-hand side, exactly what you've said, Arsenal aren't that attacking minded. And, even that first goal, I mean, you Arsenal fans will have your own mind, but Doherty's mistake to get the ball in, then Højbjerg misses it, then it goes through Alderweireld's leg. It was probably the luckiest goal you've ever scored in your life. And but then to score a penalty that wasn't a penalty.
But Dean, before that, there were those two shots where we hit the crossbar. Yes, the goal was.
Let's talk about the shots. Emil Smith Rowe takes a shot from nowhere. Okay, no one's expecting him to score. Takes a shot from nowhere, hits the bar. 100% great shot. Then I can't even remember who was it? The guy from Southampton. Cedric. I mean, that man hits that shot maybe 0.1 times out of 10. He scores that goal.
Yeah, that's why the XG for that one was 0.01.
So it's not a goal you expect to score. That's what I'm trying to say. So in terms of goals you expect to score, Arsenal were not expecting to score a goal out of the shots that they had.
Let's go to Kent. Kent, from your side, how do you feel as an Arsenal supporter throughout that game, that first half, and how did you feel? Because I walked in there thinking we're going to lose because it's Mourinho. It's not the fact that it's Spurs. If anybody else coached Spurs, we beat them. But if it was Mourinho, there's no way. And that's how I've always felt when they hired Mourinho. But how did you feel in that game and coming out of it? Do you have credence to Dean that we were lucky?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I'll reflect on what Dina said and how I felt. So I felt going into the game very nervous. Obviously, seeing Son, Bale, and Kane seeming to be pressing well, scoring goals. It seems that there's a bit of chemistry going. I don't think Spurs have won at the Emirates in 9 or 10 attempts. I know they really want it. I know it's Jose. He's made some comments already in the press. Then the game starts, and like Dean said, there was just no press from Spurs at all. And I'm just wondering, like, what's happening? Are they going to park the bus from minute one? Or it just this is going against what I've been watching over the past few weeks. I'm thinking, like Dean said, Jose would get the guys geared up, but I'm seeing none of it. And it's all Arsenal. We had something like in the first half, 10 touches in the box to Spurs' 1 by the end of the first half. Dean may say that there were lucky strikes. Right? Yeah, something like that.
We'll get onto that goal. Don't worry. We'll talk about that goal.
So, just a comment also that I'd like to put in here is I know there was a few. I was a bit worried also with the Aubameyang rumors beforehand. There was some disciplinary hearing. I'm thinking Cheap is the biggest game of the season, arguably for an Arsenal fan, and our best player, or one of our best players, aren't ready or have arrived late or whatever, and he's being dealt with. But thankfully, Kane was also late and only arrived in the last 10 minutes of the game. So apparently, Jose also dealing with some fines on that end.
10 players arrived.
But yeah, go on.
So I just want to ask, speaking about luck and skill, I'm going to ask Kent this first. That Rabona, was that luck or was that skill?
I think it was cheek. So I think it's a bit of both. You have to have skill and an imagination to attempt a goal in the box. It's cheeky and it paid off. What I love about it though is that he ended up getting shown what the color of North London is in the game, and also goal and losing the match. So I know Spurs will obviously be sending out a DVD package of the games they won this year or whatever, and that goal might not be highlighted as much as if Spurs end up winning. So I'm just happy we managed to win. Otherwise, that goal would be thrown everywhere on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere, and I wouldn't be able to escape it. So I'm very thankful for that.
But okay, so Dean, I appreciate the goal. I think it was incredible. I actually think it could be goal of the season, if not a candidate for the pushcast. What were you thinking at that point in time when Lamela just puts that in the bottom of the corner?
I mean, so this is the thing. I mean, we played a Europa League game. I remember like 5 or 6 years ago, and he hit the same Rabona goal. I mean, I think it was against some Greek team. I was a nothing team, and he hit it. We were like 4-0, 5-0 up, and he hits the Rabona, which you kind of go at that point crazy that you try it, but okay, it works out. For him to try it in the box at the Emirates when it's 0-0 North London derby, exactly like Ken's saying, there's no man on the planet that tries that except Lamela. And that's the thing that you get.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to say with Lamela. I love him because when he gets the ball, you know something special is going to happen. It's either going to be he's going to roll it around you, he's going to try a Rabona, or he's going to elbow you in the face. Like, you don't know what's going to happen when he gets the ball. But something's going to happen. And that's what kind of makes him so exciting to watch. But having that Rabona goal cancelled out by a red card, which is not necessary. But I mean, you could see that he was up for it because he loves Spurs, Lamela. But some of those challenges he had before, I mean, going in at Xhaka, going in at David Luiz, throwing elbows around, like you knew something was going to happen. So it does cancel it out, and it is sad because, as Ken said, it probably would have been my wallpaper on my phone for a good long time if we had won the game.
You would have made All or Nothing season 2 with just that
I would have said,
Rabona as
I would have had All or Nothing Rabona.
the opening shop.
But like,
So
that's the thing.
so-
It's a great goal, but at the same time, it means
it's
nothing.
insane. It was insane. And at that point in time, I kind of felt Spurs were under pressure. It's something brilliant, and it can change the game.
It's
and
a spark.
somehow,
It's a spark. Yeah.
somehow, this Arsenal team is resilient. It's especially in bigger matches, they're very resilient. It's not
You
Burnley.
go on to score such a lucky goal after the Rabona goal, and I think it's not resilient. It's pure luck.
But they kept on attacking. They kept on attacking.
Yeah.
They kept on pushing. Against Burnley, they looked flat. Against all these other smaller teams, they looked flat. But seemingly, they came up for the game. They were up there, and yeah, that was very good. Kent, where to from here from an Arsenal perspective? They're still 10th, 4 points behind Spurs. Aston Villa somehow in the middle of all of this. What happens now for Arsenal? Where do you think they're going to finish this season?
Okay, so I think as it stands, we are 10th, tied with Aston Villa, but they have a game in hand. Villa plays Spurs, so that's an opportunity for us to maybe go 9th. And then we play West Ham on the weekend, so tough match, but also North London derby. But where to from here? I think we have a very nice run in. I think we have some favorable fixtures compared to the teams above us. I think we should be putting more emphasis on Europa. However, don't lose focus on the league because it will be unfortunate to put all our eggs in one basket, finish 8th or 9th. We're not in the FA Cup, so there's no backdoor, and we're not in Europa or Champions League, and it's a very awkward position for Mikel Arteta to be in. I think Arsenal put more emphasis on Europa since I do think we need to be fielding our strongest team each Thursday. It's knockout matches. You can't even rely on other teams to do you favors. So for us, I would love to see a top 7 finish in the league and us to put all our emphasis on Europa and go as far in that competition as possible. And maybe if it's aligned in the stars, we face Spurs in a quarterfinal, semi-final,
I don't want to
final.
face another English team in Europe. But I'm done with playing English teams.
I'm very happy for that reason. Maybe it will be Rangers. Maybe it will be.
you're going to face AC Milan. You know you're
I
going to
think
face
we've
AC
lost
Milan.
Ken a little bit there. He'll probably get his connection sorted. But where to from here, Dean, for your side? As we just move Ken off until he gets himself.
It's an interesting question because I know a couple of weeks ago we said Jose is probably going to look to go to Europa League if we lose the North London derby. But I think having got the results we did against Burnley and then get lucky against Fulham and then beating Palace the way we did, I honestly think Spurs can push for top four. Liverpool are coming back now, and I think a large part of that is because Jota's back. Watching that game against Wolves, he does definitely do something different for that attacking front. So I do think it's going to be between a Liverpool Spurs for that top four, because Everton, you can see, are falling away now. Losing to Burnley on the weekend is a bit of a shock. So Spurs have got I wouldn't say an easy run in, but if we play United, we play Everton, and I think we've got Chelsea in terms of the top 6 games that are left. The rest of them are relatively small. So 10 games left in the season.
You have an interesting one, which is why St. Tottenham's Day is going to wait until that day. Last game of the season, Leicester City.
It's fun. But it's fine. Madison and Barnes will still be gone, so it's fine.
Kent and I will be waiting for that moment. Won't you, Kent? If you know what's going to happen. Just know what's going to happen.
It's been a while, and it was boring celebrating it every year for 19 years almost. But yeah, I guess 2 years now, 3 years now, well, I'm just starting to miss it a bit.
No, you'll miss it a bit longer. Don't worry. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think Europa League is obviously a big focus, and I think the problem is now it's becoming a big focus for Arsenal as well. And that's why I also don't want Spurs to say, okay, cool, let's all go Europa League, because you can face Arsenal sometime in the future and we don't rock up the same way we did on Sunday. And then you're sitting at the season going, well, what did we actually achieve except maybe winning a Carabao Cup, which still doesn't look possible. Because
when is that final? We've been waiting for that final.
End of April.
I think it's in April.
End of April.
End of April, something like that. Look, I don't want it to happen, because at least I'm hanging on to we're in a final. That's the part that makes me feel a bit better.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't want it to happen.
I think Dean's been hoping that City would lose momentum since that was finalized, because I think as that final was finalized, City really started their fine form, and they don't seem to be losing that anytime soon. So it's I think Dean actually wants to push it out further, if anything.
If they could push it out to when KDB leaves City, I'll be fine with that as well.
That's not happening.
2 years time, Carabao Cup final.
Hey, you never know. Barcelona's got the new management. They could seemingly go back into the market and find new players. Maybe a Harry Kane to lead the line behind Messi. Who knows? Maybe they like. Okay, but no, we know you'd sell Lamela in a heartbeat. Let's move on to the big topic that we wanted to talk about today. Are Manchester United really that good? He brought this topic. He's not here. I think Greenside, wherever he stays, I don't even think he stays in Greenside anymore. Has had a power outage. So thank you, ESCOM, because now we've got Kent.
We can tear into United.
Tear into United. But so from my end, I look at this United side, and it feels as though they know what they are. They know that they are good enough to get draws against the bigger teams, and you can see like against matches against the top 7, they're bottom of that log, and they don't even get. I think what is their points? Their points per game is below 100. It's below 1, which is ridiculous for United side. Yeah. But on the other end, they just laying into smaller teams. They just they're going ham at smaller teams. And I think last season was different because they were beating bigger teams but losing to smaller teams. But then I watched the game against AC Milan over the weekend, midweek, and I watched the one against West Ham, and I kind of felt I kind of felt sad because we should have beaten them at the Emirates. We did beat them at Old Trafford, which is awesome because that doesn't happen once in a while. But you kind of felt as though this team, it needs a few transfer windows, but they've been put there because everybody else has stumbled against teams that they're supposed to be beating. So are they good enough, based on the fact that they're beating everyone else, that they're supposed to, and obviously not beating the top 6? And so that's where my conundrum is. But Kent, what do you think about this United side? Do they bring you the fear of those 8-2, of that side that beat us 8-2 with all Ferguson's rejects playing and still whipping us.
No. So my honest opinion, even though I'd love to tear into them, I do think United have improved in the last or under the few months under Ole. I don't think United are anywhere near winning the league though, as of yet. I know they were top of the league this season. There
Oh,
were
did we
question
not know? Did we know about
Yeah.
that? Oh my
there were,
Yeah.
there were question marks being thrown around. Some United fans being United fans thinking they're going to go on and win it, and other United fans just being a bit more skeptical, thinking it could just be just a false image of what's actually going on. My personal opinion, I think Bruno is one of the best January signings and has significantly helped the team push forward. I don't think the current squad is going to win in the league, so it will take a few transfer windows. But ultimately, for them to win the league, I don't think Ole is the right manager for them to push them on
Ooh.
to win the league. I think they will need someone who's just heartless, like Ferguson was, like Pepe's, and like even Jose in his prime. They are managers that know what it's like to win the league. Ole hasn't got that experience. He can obviously define that and set a benchmark if he was to stay at United and they were to win the league. But I don't think United have the squad or the team to win the league in this Premier League and how competitive it is now. Looking at how competitive City are and where Liverpool have dropped, I think Liverpool, it would be a bump in form, but they will be back. United just aren't in that same conversation. So I do think there's improvement. However, to win the league, which I'm sure is the United's expectation or where they want to be, I think it will take one or two more transfer windows and potentially a new manager because it's always topsy turvy. If they have to lose their next 5 matches, questions will be on Ole whether he should be sacked. If they were really confident in their manager to win the league, if that had to happen, it won't cause any disruption in question marks. Just like Liverpool, they lost a few games. No one was calling for Klopp. They know that Klopp is the man. It's just a bump in form. I don't think Ole has earned um, that confidence yet in the fans and in the players. My personal opinion.
Well, it would be very brave for Liverpool to fire the manager that brought them a title after 30 years in the season
100%.
afterwards, which is wild. But Dean, this United, what do you think of this United team? Yes, you went to Old Trafford and you smacked them 6-1. Are they a shadow of themselves, or are they coming into some sort of a old Fergie era type of team?
I mean, I definitely think they're on the road to recovery based on, some of the poor performances they've given us in previous seasons. I mean, the problem and I think to answer the question, are United the real deal? The quick answer is no. But I think you have to add to that not yet, because having said that, there's a few key positions that they are lacking in. And I think United fans will also admit that. And I think a key issue is up front. Their recruitment of late hasn't been out of this world. I mean, getting an old timer like Cavani is again kind of trying to patch up a bigger problem. And then you look at, and I mean, I watched that West Ham game in a bit of detail, and United were dominant in that game. West Ham struggled to get out of their own half for a long period of time, but United just couldn't break them down. They didn't have the sort of creativity and the strike force to get that extra goal to go from 1-0 to 2 or 3, which is what you would be expecting from a United team. So, and you look at that side, you've got Rashford, who is definitely one for the future. You've got Greenwood, who is one for the future. You look at the bench, they also had Amad Diallo, who is one for the future. It's just not now. And I think and even Daniel James, you can throw Daniel James, okay. I mean, I wouldn't really, because he's at best a Swansea player. But they are all players for the future. And I think, again, Ole is a coach for the future, which as a United fan, you're kind of sitting there going, okay, cool. Do I sit back and I say, okay, I'll win the league maybe in 5 to 10 years? Or do they kind of go out and say, no, we want to get the guys going? You look at it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with the Ronaldo situation, because it's very clear he's not happy at Juventus and Juventus aren't happy with him. And I saw reports that he's more likely to join United than go back to Real Madrid, So if United go back and kind of try and get a Ronaldo back, same way Spurs got a Bale back, you think that kind of shows a little bit of intent of what they want to do. But for now, I just don't think they have, the personnel, and exactly what Ken said, I don't think the coach is the coach to take them to the league. But more than that, I think they are on the right path. They're not there. They're just not there right now.
So I agree with both of you in different ways. I agree that Ole is not the manager to take them there. And I think in essence, I look at Ole and I look at this United team and Ole, and I'm reminded of Spurs a couple of seasons ago, over the past 4 or 5 years before Mourinho, with Poch and the kids. And it was always, it's a future team. It's a future team. This is the future of England. They even went to the World Cup. They played at the World Cup. These guys who were there, Dele Alli, Harry Kane, they're all there. But there comes a point in time where you need to make that step up. Spurs, that was last season, and it didn't work out. Poch went, and you kind of felt that Poch couldn't break that ceiling. I feel as though United are going to get to that point. You know, I'm a fan of young teams, and I also look at Arsenal and I sit there going, this is probably how it's going to be. You got to be patient with whoever you have. Build just like how Klopp did it, but Klopp had that X factor to break through the ceiling. It was a couple of seasons, and then he was number 2. He took them there, 99 points. You know, being the best number 2 ever in the history of the Premier League, and the following season he broke it. Here with this United team, I kind of feel, yes, you could say COVID and everything else, but they are a few pieces away from breaking through. And if they brought a Ronaldo back, that would be a statement in intent to say, in this season or in this next couple of years, you have to come good. And I'm not sure if Ole has it, but I would like for him to be given the opportunity to try. I wouldn't want him to be sacked or anything but you want to see Amad Diallo and you want to see Mason Greenwood. Just like how we watched Marcus Rashford. And that's the other thing. Even like from a Spurs perspective, I look at Harry Kane and I'm like, is Spurs not wasting this man's prime by not trying to be a lot more aggressive in getting there? And you've got Jose, but I kind of felt that this transfer market, you needed to be a lot more aggressive to try and not necessarily make defensive moves, but try and, yes, we get Bale's coming back and we get that, but try and be the best team in England. You have a benchmark with Liverpool and City, and you kind of came out of that transfer and you're like, but these guys are not the best team in England, and you wanted them to be. And so that's where I think United are going to find themselves at crossroads. We've seen their fans cry about transfer policies throughout. It's Ed Woodward, it's so and so. Now they've now just got a hierarchy now with a structure. Darren Fletcher's in there somewhere. So I hope that they can, Darren Fletcher and whoever they put in there can exceed expectations just like Darren Fletcher did on the field, because you sit there going, the moment they break the bank, the Glazers are going to want money. The Glazers broke the bank on Tom Brady. He got them a Super Bowl. Them a Super Bowl. The moment they spend money on you, and here's the thing: if the Bucks didn't win that Super Bowl, or if the Bucks went out in the playoffs, best believe the first person to be out would have been the coach. Yeah. So. And so you need to be wary about bringing all these big name players, because the moment it doesn't work out, you as the coach are the first one out. And so I'm happy hearing Erling Haaland. I'm happy hearing Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm very happy hearing the best defender in the world, whoever it is, who's going to pay money for. I am super, super happy, because that would tell me that the following season is a massive trial on United as to whether they can do it or not. I think with Ole, it'll be a struggle. But for Ole's sake, I hope it works. But this team's not there yet. They're sitting 2 and 3 with a Leicester team that are just doing incredible things. And quite frankly, I actually think this Leicester team is better than this United team. Even with the injuries, I think this Leicester team can hold off their own. They have a squad that is just unbelievable. Yes, we love Bruno and he's God and Rashford and everything else, but Brendan Rodgers has something special cooking in that Leicester kitchen, and not enough is said about that. Everyone's focusing on those Red Devils that, quite frankly, have spluttered their way to number 2 with the help of some friends losing games that they weren't supposed to, and them holding on and winning games that they should. But that's what it is.
Can we just be honest and say Erling Haaland is not going to United? He's just not going there.
I just want him to because it's gonna mess up future transfer windows.
Fact, if Robbie Keane broke his dad's career. Like Keane broke his dad. Keane broke his dad. Like he absolutely destroyed his dad. The man is an avid Leeds supporter. He went to Dallas after a North Ireland game and gave him the little Leeds supporters chant. The man hates United. I don't know where all these United fans are saying, oh, yeah, it's like saying Harry Kane's son one day is going to go to Arsenal. It's not going to happen. Like, just get over it. The kid's never going to go. So that's all. I just wanted to say that. And I know no United fan is here, so they can't defend themselves. So that's why.
Yes, they can't. Okay.
Well, if I could just quickly chime in there. I think you raised great points. I think with Liverpool and City, they both had the capital to invest. Liverpool were very fortunate with the Coutinho sale. I feel that was almost 130 million where they could add into their transfers, and they really their transfers were really good in Fabinho, in Alisson. They really stitched up holes that were gaping that they really needed improvement on. Coupled with that, they also had a manager that knew how to work these players and coach these players into their particular philosophy and then go on to win the league. With United, will they be able to buy effectively, which they haven't in past seasons? That current squad has a lot of DNA of the past three managers almost. And then once they have the squad, do they have the manager to then get the best out of everyone like Brendan Rodgers has done with a team worth far less, that Klopp has done, that Pep has done with their squad. So that's why I don't think it's going to take two things: transfers and the coach. And I think transfers, they kind of do have they have control over that, but the coach, whether Ole can get the best out of those players, I don't think, I'm not confident in that. So just to chime into what you've just said.
Final question: is Harry Maguire the best centre back in the league?
No, he's not. Unfortunately,
I'm not even going to bother answering that question.
That one was.
I'd go as far to say Toby Alderweireld's better than Harry Maguire.
Hey, I've got a Gabriel-sized man in my best centre back that I would pay to have over any person who's been arrested in a Greek prison before. But let's move on to our FPL. So thank you very much, guys. We're going to shift things around. We're going to go to FPL. So please do stick around. This is a very interesting game week. So you want to hear this and you want to watch this. So let's get things moving. And welcome back and welcome to our FPL edition on the cheap seats. Just a quick reminder, please do interact with us on these platforms. Most importantly, like and subscribe on YouTube. This is the FPL edition where we discuss all things FPL. It's an interesting week now, guys. It's Gameweek 29 and it's the blank game week. It's that game week where FA Cup quarterfinals are being played. And if your team's not in the FA Cup quarterfinal, happiness, you're playing this weekend. So before we go on, Dean, how was your game week 28? Pep decided to show everybody flames. So how did that happen for you?
I mean, so it was a bit of a weird game week. I woke up on Saturday, turned on the TV, and then realized that Newcastle who was it? Newcastle Aston Villa played on Friday night. I was like, damn it, I forgot to make any transfers. So stressing the whole weekend, thinking, okay, this is it, it's done. But yeah, it actually came to my good. So managed to go up the rankings. I'm now up to 178,000th in the world, still behind Kento in our mini league. But yeah, I think it was one of those game weeks where you were probably better off if you did nothing, because of all the fixtures went weird ways. Pep hit his normal De Bruyne, no one else played. It was one of those weeks where it didn't actually matter what you did because you could never have guessed what was going to
come. Kent, how was your game week? You are still up there. I'm chasing you. I think everyone in cheap seats is chasing you except for AD. So how was your weekend?
Yeah, I'm really chasing AV and Dean up top there. I won't lie. After the first two games, or after the City game, it looked like I was within reach. And then, yeah, a lot happened after that. But yeah, so the Villa game was a huge swing of points. I had Martinez, and I had Watkins, who at least got some points. But Martinez could have got a double haul. If they just the last kick of the game, if Lascelles didn't score that.
Here's the fun thing. At that point in time, 5 minutes, 90 minutes, I think, before they scored that goal, right about there, I had Target, Martinez, and Watkins, and that was 21.
Exactly.
21 points. It went from 21 to about 12. It was got 5, Target got 4. Watson got 5, Watkins got 5, Target got 4, and
he got an assist there.
So Watkins
and so I was like,
changed. He changed from a goal to assist, and I think if he got the goal, maybe would have been in the bonus points. But yeah, it's a huge swing of points there. The Man City roulette worked to my favor. I had Stones and Diaz, and both of them started. Cancelo managed to get the assist and get almost a bit more points than Diaz, but obviously the De Bruyne and the Sterling not playing helped me a lot, but then Gundogan also didn't play, and I think Rafinha or someone like that came off my bench. And then I think the main thing as to why lots of people were frustrated was on the captaincy. If you look at Bruno, he banked. Salah blanked and Kane blanked. You had to have a differential captain, complete differential, like Vardy. Like
I had a differential captain. I had a differential captain, and guess what he did? They go on and lose to bloody Burnley. I had Richarlison. Richarlison. I was like, this is the moment, and true to form, every time I put Richarlison in my team, Everton does something dumb. So
and you took out Calvert-Lewin for him.
I didn't have Calvert-Lewin. Okay. I took out Bamford for him. So I was lucky because obviously Bamford got that injury. But on the other end, I was like, dude, do something. Like it was between Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, and I was like, you know what? Let me go with this guy. He's on form, and boom, it fell. It broke me. Okay, so
just saying in concluding, I do think you can, for someone like yourself and myself also, we're gonna have to take some punts to catch up to Dino and AB. I'm quite happy staying in third, so I'm going to be going probably with the effective ownerships and all of that. But if I really want to make that last sprint, I'm going to have a few surprising captaincies. With Dean, he's also going to have to make sure he doesn't captain the same person as me.
Well, based on what you guys provided to me, it's going to be fun. Game week 29, it's a blank game week, so it's a different game week. So this is where the chips come in. Are there any chips people could use? I'm thinking a free hit if somebody has a free hit.
I mean, if you have a free hit, I don't know how you still have a free hit. I have no idea how anyone has chips left.
I think the chips left would be free hits, or if you haven't played your wild card, it's recommended you play it in game week 31. So you could kind of have a few punts in this week. Go for people that like Dunk, Feltman, players that you don't want long term, but you want to have just a little bit of a differential. Unfortunately, with me, I've played all my chips, so I'm gonna have to really strategize. The players that I bring in, they need to be players that I want for the game weeks coming up, and not in and out.
So for a person who doesn't have chips, do you try and make a lot of transfers, or do you just let things fall where they may and play with the players you have? So how many players do you think you should have in this game week to at least have some sort of a haul?
So I do think a nice number would have been 8 or 9, but with the injuries to Son, Bamford, I think Dan Burn also got injured. It's going to go down to about 6 or 7. But I do think for someone that doesn't have chips, if you're bringing in a player for a -4, it's actually going to be a -2, since the player not playing is a 0. So them pitching up already is 2 points. So I do think taking hits is needed if you don't have chips coming up, but not too many. So I'm looking at a -4 potentially. but that will come closer to the day if I think it's really worth it. But I think a -8 is a bit too far.
But then the other question is what happens next week, because you're probably going to have to take that player out. Because the teams that are playing this week are it's Fulham, Leeds, Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Spurs. And outside of Spurs and Aston Villa, I don't think anybody else would want any of the players. Because the other question, do you have any Arsenal players in your team?
I do.
Absolutely not.
I've got Emil Smith Rowe, who was on my bench because I did play a wild card on game week, I think 25 or 26, and I did keep a bench that I knew that would have to come in for my game week 29. So I had on my bench Feltman, I had Jamal Lewis, who looks like he's suddenly fallen out of favor at Newcastle, and then Emil Smith Rowe is only 4.3, who is a playing midfielder. But the teams that you can only put in now, which you could last you kind of for the rest of the season, are a Leeds player, so maybe a Dallas or a Rafinha if you don't have, maybe even Millier, since Aston Villa have a very tough fixtures towards the end of the season. If you want to go from, well, you shouldn't do it now, but keep Martinez and maybe sell your second keeper for Millier, and then the other team is West Ham. So Antonio or Dawson, or even someone like their left back Creswell.
Creswell.
They're all very viable picks, not only for this week but for going forward. I don't think they are. You have to think like that. You can't be bringing in Trossard, for example. He's a punt for this week, but he's not a punt for the rest of the season.
So here we go. Let's go through all our picks. So I've asked the guys to give us the transfers in, the players they'll transfer out, the differential, and their captain. So we're going to start with Kent. Kent has brought in, he's thinking of bringing in Craig Dawson, as he's just spoke about then, transferring out Luca Digne. Harry Kane is going to be the captain this week, and it's Emil Smith Rowe as his differential. Kent, what were you think? What was your rationale around that? I think you've spoken a little bit about it, but just add a little bit more color there.
So you want to have, for captain's pick, you want to have the players that could hurt you the most if you don't have, and I think that would be Spurs assets and possibly Arsenal assets, but definitely Spurs, how I see it. I think Captain Kane, he's a player that will be in everyone's draft, even if you're playing a free hit, and I think even free hitters will select Kane as their captain. So I'm happy with Kane. I think if he blanks, there's not going to be a lot of people going for a differential, like maybe Aubameyang or something like that. So happy with Kane. Bringing in, selling Digne and bringing in Dawson. Digne and Everton haven't seemed great at home all of a sudden. They have conceded. There's a huge premium on Digne being 6.1. And I could have sold him and maybe Calvert-Lewin, but they do have a favorable fixture in Gameweek 30, which is Crystal Palace. So I think I'm going to decide probably on losing one and maybe possibly losing Stones because of the Pep Roulette and because of City's heavy fixture list coming up. I think there's going to be a lot of changes. So bringing in someone like Dallas or Creswell. But why I've gone with Dawson is Dawson's 4.5. He's a goal threat. Where if I went with Creswell, I think it's almost $1 million more. So I want to save some bank and hopefully bring in someone like Kevin De Bruyne. I currently have 3 City players, Diaz, Stones, and Gundogan. I want to bring in Kevin De Bruyne. So losing Stones and then bringing in KDB, I think makes sense. So yeah, that's my rationale. And then Emil Smith Rowe, basically my only non-template player. So
Okay. I think Kent has he's back here again. Dean, let's go to you. Let's go to my team first. So I chose to transfer in Neil Mope because Brighton are playing Newcastle, guys. Come on. Surely.
You will never be able to justify this, You will never justify bringing in Mope.
Transferring out to Charleston. So transferring out to Charleston is just a one-game thing. I think I might bring him back in the next game week because I brought Richarlison for the long haul. So it depends. I might even just, if it works out, I could bring in DCL. I'm captaining Ollie Watkins as a differential. The last time people forgot about Ollie Watkins was in a game week similar to this, and everyone went Kane and Ollie Watkins came through. So I'm hoping that he comes good against Spurs. And then Joachim Anderson as my differential. He's done really well for Fulham. He has, I think, since Gameweek 23, he's only had scored minimum of 6 points. So let's hear it. Let's hear a Dean on Neil Mope. My options were Antonio from West Ham, but he's playing Arsenal, and I'm like thinking that possibly he might not get goals.
Ryan Rampant.
He won't. Yeah, look, I don't think he will, unless if you. Maybe I could bring in Lingard, but that's a midfield decision. And then the other option was Danny Welbeck. I don't know who's striking up front for Newcastle, so that's weird. And then I think everyone's gravitating to that lead side, so I'm trying to figure out which lead striker is going to come in. Might be Rafinha, so Rafinha's there too. So those were my options, and I was like, actually, why not go for a Brighton team that has a little bit of confidence, won a game, and they're trying to get out of that relegation zone against a Newcastle team? What do you think, Dean?
I mean, my thing is, and I think that's exactly what Ken said, you're going to bring Malpe in, but it's just for this week. And I mean, if you have the transfers to waste, that's fine, but that's my only thing. I would look at something that's a little bit longer term, even if it is Bamford's out, right? So, and he's probably going to be out for at least 2 weeks from what I've seen. So, Marcelo Bielsa brought in Rodrigo straight after Bamford went off. So, and if you look at that Leeds fixtures, they actually got pretty decent fixtures over the next 2 weeks. So, I mean, they've got Fulham this week and then they play Sheffield next week. So that's why I've got Bamford as well, and I'm kind of contemplating that move as well. But yeah, I think I understand the point around Brighton, and they might be on the good, but
it's just one game. Next week is out.
I'd rather go Welbeck. Welbeck has better points against anyone than Neil Maupay, but it's fine. And I mean, you get Maupay in, and then we'll talk next week.
It hurt me because he hurt my boy last year in Matteo Guendouzi, and it got Matteo a red card, and then also Matteo no longer plays for Arsenal. That's why we are Hertha Berlin supporters.
If I can offer some advice, I would not sell Richarlison for Maupay. I would rather bring in Trossard, being 5.7. I think he is.
Just as he was about to tell me about Trossard.
Actually, what he was going to say was, don't bring in Trossard. Keep it at Maupay because it's a terrible decision.
I've got that, and I might actually drop. Who do I have? I've got Souček, but he's gonna play. But I'll find someone in my midfield to get Trossard out. So let's look at Dean's team quickly. Dean has transferred in Gareth Bale. I thought Gareth Bale was in your team. Oh, you didn't make transfers last week. Oh, I forgot
to make transfers.
So Mo Salah is still in your team, so now he has to leave. You've got Harry Kane, and then here's an interesting one. Elan Meslier. Was Meslier always in your team?
Meslier has been in my team for the last 8 to 10 game weeks, because a while ago I had Matt Ryan. And then when he decided to make the terrible career choice and go to your team, I needed to find another keeper. So Meslier was on the list. And Meslier, I mean, Leeds concede goals like crazy, but Meslier he's really good at saving. So he gets quite a few save points as well. And everyone was on the Martinez train. So that's why I got Meslier in quite a while ago. And he's really come to the good over the last, it's only been over the last 2 weeks, but I mean, Chelsea keeping a clean sheet against Chelsea is no easy feat, and some of the saves he made there were ridiculous. And the week before that, he got saved a penalty save, and then got some save points there as well. And they're playing Fulham this week, so he's only owned by 6.6% of people. And the reason why I'm going for him as a differential is exactly like Ken said. A lot of people have Martinez, but Aston Villa are playing Spurs, and it's hard to say, but kind of back Spurs to score there at least one goal. So in terms of that, and as well as the fairly empty fixture list, there's not a lot of options there where you could look for a sneaky differential. So it is weird. I know we kind of don't back goalkeepers on the show, but I think Meslier could be a pretty decent pick this year. This week. But yeah, carry on.
I just remembered I have an Arsenal player in my squad, and that's Bernd Leno. So I've got the Martinez Leno combination.
Yeah.
So this week it's Bernd Leno coming in goals. Because I honestly think Harry Kane's going to score against Martinez. But it's always happened that whenever I pick Bernd Leno, like I did 2 weeks ago, Martinez has a very good game week. So, yeah. So, interesting enough, you and Kent have chosen the same guy, Harry Kane. So you're going with the pack. And I'm picking Ollie Watkins because I'm just like, you know what, screw this. Ollie Watkins might just do a Liverpool to this to the Spurs side.
One Arsenal.
The one thing I will say though about the Spurs guys, I mean, Jose took Bale off at 55 minutes because he wasn't happy with the way he was performing, right? Son's gone.
Wait, how long is Son gone? Because we're being told it's 75%. He could likely play. Is Jose playing
like
games
2
with us,
weeks.
or will...
It looks. I think it's 2 weeks. He'll. In my mind, he needs to give Son this week off, and then it's international break. So at least Son has 3 weeks off because he had that injury because he's just playing way too much. So give the guy 3 weeks off, and then hopefully come back and push. But that's why I think from a Spurs asset, they are maybe you can't go Lamela now, but you could go Bergwijn as a potential asset there as a sneaky pick because we obviously need to fill up that left side
and
coming
Mora?
in. So. Mora is also really good. I mean, he's definitely playing, and he's. I mean, the only thing with Mora is, again, you don't know how long he can last, and he's there and thereabouts. But he could, Jose could mix up that whole team again and put Dele instead of Lucas, and maybe put Lucas on the left or bring Lucas as like a sub for Bergwijn on the wing. So that's why I'm a little bit tentative about the Spurs assets this week. It'll be interesting to see the team we put against Dinamo Zagreb tomorrow night. I mean, the coach is going to prison, so anything could happen. Maybe we should put out a youth team there.
Are you guys playing you guys are playing in Zagreb?
Yeah, so we're playing in Zagreb. So I hope.
What was your first leg deficit or whatever it was?
Well,
score
2-0. So we're leading 2-0. I don't think he's going to put out the big guns because of the traveling. Although having said that, I mean, last week Arsenal traveled to, I don't know where, but you guys were on their road.
It was Greece.
Okay.
It was Greece. Yeah. It wasn't Eastern Europe. It was Greece.
Well, you went traveling, you came back, and you were the guys that rocked up in the North London derby. We played at home and we didn't rock up. So I don't think you can blame the traveling anyway. So
dude, we're playing Socrates and his friends. It wasn't like we were playing we're playing a
I'm playing a criminals team, so we'll also see what's happening with that.
Dean, I just want to get an opinion from you. If for those managers that do have Son, do you think it's worth bringing in Bale for Son? I know Son will be out definitely for Thursday, and Jose said, I saw now in a press conference, he's likely to be out this weekend, and then he should be back after the international break. If I was to bring in Bale, I'd need him to play more than 60 minutes firstly, and then kind of not go back on that and then be like, okay, Bale for the rest of the season, or at least for 5 games. Do you feel it's worth for those who have Son to bring in Bale, or do you think it's rather stick with Son because he will come back in Gameweek 30 and Bale's not the investment you want for Son now?
So the only reason why I don't want to answer this truthfully is because I know you have Son.
Yeah.
So we all have Son. Like the whole world has Son. Like we're all sitting.
I don't have Son. But I 100%. I wouldn't sell Son for Kane. Purely because I think if the injury was longer term, and I mean, if you look at the way he pulled up, I think everyone thought, okay, rest of the season you're gone. But evidently, it's not that bad. The Bale rotation is also a big thing. You know, you don't want to get a guy that's only going to play 1 point. And Son does have a good history of he gets some time off. He comes, has a bit of a break, and then he comes back guns firing. So for me, I can get Salah out of my team just because I think Jota is now the way to go in that Liverpool side. Can bring in Bale, and then hopefully by saving some cash and getting out like Luca Dini in my team, I might be able to go a Kane, Son, Bale triple up. So we'll see how that goes, but I definitely don't think you should sell Son. The thing with Gameweek 29 is...
Did you just say Kane, Son, and Bale tripling up in FPL with the Spurs team that's not winning in many games?
We are winning many games. You just got lucky, Impo. Don't start. We've had this conversation. No, but I think the big thing is if you've got Kane, Son, and Bale, I think guys are going to get fired up, and I think the guys will come back. That's my point. It will be tough though to get them all into your team, given that you need KDB and you need Bruno, and obviously the prices and things like that. But that's the way I'm looking at going for sure. You just hope Gareth Bale comes to the good and doesn't have like a temper tantrum from Jose taking him off.
I just wish Chelsea were playing this game week, because I think a lot of people are sleeping on their defensive assets, like Mendy and Rudiger, maybe Azpilicueta, and then maybe a punt on Mount. Bringing him into this game week would have been interesting. So I think a lot of managers will be looking at possibly Leicester and Chelsea players, but it's annoying because you don't want to bring in a dud. So this game week, it's if I had my free hit, it would be great. But like Dean said, if you haven't used your free hit yet, I don't think you're probably in the.
Yeah, I don't think you're in the top anything. Yeah. I think Rudiger is a good option though. He's very cheap. So if you got, in the future, Rudiger is cheap and he is playing. So yeah, it is a good shout to have.
So I take it Kent loves centre backs, whereas a lot of the guys on the cheap seats go for wing backs. It seems, or anybody who doesn't cost more than.
I go for budgets. I'm like AB. AB gave me good advice when he was first, and he said he likes his 4.5s. So I've taken that on.
Yes, we gave you Anderson right there, differential. Bring him in your side. Fulham are not losing this game against Leeds. And he's probably going to score. He takes free kicks too. So you heard it here first. But yeah, so all the best to everybody. Just to remind Dean and AB and anybody who's watching this, the game week closes when? On Friday.
Yeah. Do it on Thursday, actually.
So do it on Thursday. It closes on Friday. But thank you very much, guys, for this. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it'd be North London heavy, and it was, but it was still fun. And yeah, so to everybody who's watching, thank you very much. If you're an FPL player, have a great weekend. May the odds be ever in your favor. Good luck. Let's see you on the other side. This one's going to be a nightmare. But yes, for myself, Kent and Dean, Kent, thank you very much for coming, my man. Thank you very much from the rest of the Cheap Seats team. We missed the guys. Next week, hopefully, we'll see you guys. But for myself, Dean and Kent, lesale, kakahiso.